race weekend of the BMW IBSF Bobsleigh and Skeleton World Cup. We're at Altenberg in Saxony for the first of 2 visits to this track this season. One of the toughest drivers' tracks on the planet. Here, the start is less of an issue than what you do once you're sitting behind the D-rings. Hello everybody, Martin Haven and John Morgan ready to cover the action of the women's race. And John, this is going to be just as demanding today as it has been every other day since it was opened.
Well, the women had quite a challenge on this track built in the mid-'80s by the old East German sports facility, and they've upgraded the track. And Martin, if it's anything like we saw yesterday, women's monobob, we're going to see some very entertaining racing again today. Up top, everybody has problems up here in this long straightaway above 3. 3 sets you up for 4. A couple dips up and down here. Exit, you don't want to hit the left-hand wall here at 5. You get through there, you breathe lightly, and then you got 3-corner combination labyrinth. Curve 9, we saw 3 sleds exit upside down here. They all came back up here in this Chrysler. Look at these pictures. Wow. Exit with a slingshot effect, you hope. 11, so forgiving, and 12 compared to the past years. 13, a lot of people having problems in 13. 14, the exit is straightaway. You got to be straight, and you can't throw away your time here on the bottom. In 15, you can't relax one moment. Oh, you're through, down. Martin, this is some challenging track, and I think the athletes will be the first ones to tell you that.
Absolutely right. This is a very tough track indeed. Lara Nolte is our World Cup points leader. 2 wins for her. 2 silver medals for Kim Kilicki. 2 bronze medals for Christine de Bruyne so far this season. None of them have won on this track. However, this is very different from Innsbruck, where we spent the last 2 weeks. Mariama Yamanka won the last World Cup race here for Germany, but that is the only non-North American winner since 2013. The winner that day, Kathleen Martini, with Stephanie Schneider on the brakes. That's how long ago that is. Stephanie Schneider's been a World Cup driver for the last 4 or 5 seasons. Well, the women's bob has got a packed field of talent. 21 sleds will go in the first of our 2 heats, and the fastest 20 go through into heat 2. Just saw Alana Myers-Taylor, former winner on this track. She's got 2 or 3 medals here. And Kaylee Humphries, now of the USA, a winner here for Canada and for the US. A couple of wins here with Melissa Lottholz on the back of her sled. Melissa driving her own sled in this race for Canada. So Martina Fonteneve will be first away, and then 4th off is Christine de Bruyne, who lies 3rd in the points. Kaylee Humphries, the double world champion here, goes off 8th. Yamanka in 13th for Germany, and Giada Andriuti will be the final sled off the top of the hill. Race 3 of the BMW IBSF Women's Bobsleigh World Cup at Altenberg in Germany. Rough, tough and bad to know. This is Martina Fonteneve with Tanya Morel, her brakewoman, in only her 2nd ever World Cup race.
Well, Maria's been scrambling to get some good results. Martin, she did pretty good last year. But she just didn't find anything over there in Innsbruck. And the monobob race yesterday, she's still looking for a top 10. And she's got as much experience as most in the field. Needless to say, she hasn't got off to a good start in the season, and she really suffers at the start.
Well, she was 7th in the World Championships here 2 years ago, 10th in the Worlds last year. Oh, no. And our first victim of corner 9.
Oh. Not what the rest of the field. Get back on the run.
Back up.
Thank you.
Oh, and again in 14. Wow, she was barely able to control the sled. Really didn't have time to get a handle on it. Now, will she cross the line? I have to say, after those 2 hits, I would not be sending her down again as a coach.
Well, now if they don't hook her, Martin, which they probably won't, she's going to go back and forth here, and I don't even want to watch. Oh.
That, I'm afraid, is the nature of this track. It is not easy.
She's going to come back 2 or 3 more times. But, you know, you say, why don't they stop it? Well, there's been a lot of people injured trying to stop the sled, whether it's in that point or the first point. And, you know, the athletes know to just stay in the sled. They just stay in the sled there. There's no injuries here unless the athlete tries to get out.
Yeah. And you can see the doctors there in the yellow jackets at the bottom. That's the low point. Here comes
the medical crew coming here in the red and blue. You know, they know where to go.
Yep. That's the low point on the track. Well,
there's one out. Let's see. Let's get the other.
That's the brake woman, Mara Morel, 27-year-old from Bern.
Look, this is where you just hold your breath and you see the athlete. Now they should sit down, wait for medical help.
Yeah. 33rd World Cup race
sit down,
for Martina Fontenev.
Don't try and do anything, but this is, the athletes are, needless to say, stunned. But look at her, she wants to move the sled. You know, she's...
So
it's not like it's her first, not her first rodeo for crashing, Martin, especially on this track. But what does it do to the rest of the athletes up at the top of the track?
Yeah, just a little early down in the Kreisel. Centrifugal force pushes her back up onto the vertical wall on the exit. And there's no coming back.
Almost came back
there. Not a good way. Yeah, not a good way to see 11 and 12, is it?
No.
You can see Mara, the brake woman, desperately hanging on in the back.
Look at these
and
pictures.
then the sled is sort of righted, but they're barely in their seats, and then it just gets sent up to the roof. Yeah, she has no chance here, really. Desperately trying to save it. And here, John, they're doing 65, 70 miles an hour. I mean, that's... You see it in slow-mo, you go, well, she had plenty of time. She didn't have plenty of time to save it. It was just up, and then it was over again.
Look at her, moving the sled.
Yeah, well, that scratching noise as the sled goes the upside down the ice. That's something I think that almost every bobsled is familiar with, and nobody likes to hear.
They're going to get, they're waiting for the runners, or the runners, the scabbers, so they can put the sled, move the sled, but the
track workers just making sure there are no major gouges in the ice.
Well, there are gouges. You can see the ones right there.
Yeah. Well, those, those long scrapes aren't so bad. It's if it's taken a chunk out that
most importantly, they're looking for the gouges are in the running patterns.
Yeah.
So you can see that on the left side of your screen. You know, he's patching that because that's right in the grooves where everybody's coming in. That's on 11. Yeah. But you can see in the left, those grooves, nobody will be up there. If anybody's up there, they're in the same crash position.
And that's really part of the reason why they're patching the holes, is because if one sled has been up there with athletes' heads sort of dragging on the ice, then another can do as well. So it's a safety issue, not just for a speed issue. So long hold then for Anastasia Makarova, John.
Martin, I have been in one of those changing rooms, start rooms up top in my day, and when there's been a crash, and the trepidation, people looking around, it's quiet, it's nobody knows what to say, it's a very tense moment, and I can say it's one of the eeriest element of my athletic career ever, is sitting up top of a bobsled track when you know somebody's crashed. Yeah. And now, you know, there's a little bit of conversation. You know, once everybody finds out they're okay.
Yeah. Last time we did that was in Whistler. We were in the changing room in training, and there'd been a couple of forerunners gone down and crashed, and then Cripps went down and crashed. Boy, that room got silent in a hurry.
Yeah, that was...
Lolo Jones with the back to us and the rest of the US crew. Man, that was...
2017 World Championships, Martin. You and I looked at each other and we were saying, this thing could be called off. And when Cripps went down...
Lots of days where you're glad you do what you do rather than actually competing, and that was one of them, for sure.
Yeah, well, they're clearing the track.
You've seen both sides of it as an athlete and as an announcer, so yeah, you definitely have the empathy there. But there's nobody here in Altenberg that doesn't know what that's all about. So next, Anastasia Makarova then. It's her 6th World Cup start, but it is a debut. This is in off the high board into the ice-cold water for Olga Shishimarova, 25 years old.
I looked for some bio information, I couldn't find any.
Yeah, 2 bobsleigh races in her career. She was in the Europa Cup race in Sigulda in January 2020 with Anastasia Makarova. That was her first race. This is her second. So, welcome to the world, Olga Shishimarova. But then, if she's learned to drive and or learned to brake in Sigulda, she will know another one of the real tough drivers' tracks. Her driver, 23 years old, 11th in the World Championships here in February. She had one previous Europa Cup weekend here, so she clearly learns fast. And 11th in the World Championships on your debut, that ain't bad. Yes. Okay, here we go. That's as much for Anastasia's benefit as Olga's, I think. Set, ready. Second sled out, big breath from everybody watching for Anastasia Makarova and Olga Shishimarova. Well, they start hard, and that is probably the only way to go about it. 588 at the top.
Well, let's just see her get through here without tapping. Yeah, nice exit there, Martin. That's pretty good, very good exit of 4. She's got a little bit of a lead. Good line there. She's been through that albatross here in the exit. And she gets through there. Boy, I was on the edge of my seat, Martin.
I'm going to see a few late exits out of the Chrysler, I think, but this is a good run so far from Anastasia Makarova. Not too skiddy out of 14 into 15. So she is through and down. And the first at speed, 1:23.3. That's good speed at the bottom. It's a little overcast this morning, but the forecast, well, Francesco Frigi, you heard him last night, John, after the race, saying he believes the weather should be good enough this afternoon for track records in the 4-man. Don't think we're going to see them this morning. It's just a little bit moist in the air, and that tends to just rob the track of a bit of speed.
Well, the pictures here, I mean, it tells you the challenges these sleds have. Not as unstable as the Monobobs. We saw some diversity there. But she's down, Martin. She's the leader. Little skid there. Well, she's at the bottom.
Yeah, that little smile, she's only got to do it once more and come back in 2 weeks' time. Wai Mingming of China, 9th World Cup race for her, 12th in the Worlds here 2 years ago. The Chinese couldn't travel last year. Wang Zhuan, her brakewoman, 2nd World Cup for her. She did race 1 in Innsbruck. Now she's back on the sled.
Martin, one thing I've noticed about the Chinese, we didn't see these athletes last year at all. Of course, they've got 1,000 trips on their track. One thing I've seen is they got the driving figured out pretty well. You know, they might be over-driving, but they're starting to figure out the sport. And we know they've already figured out the men's skeleton sport. So it's just a matter of time, I think, before they're competitive in the sliding sports here of bobsleigh and skeleton. 400's back with the second best speed. That's catchable on the bottom. Good line there. Look at that safe line. 100. Those lines, Martin, is why she's got green numbers.
Not bad at all out of 14. Yes, she is. 124 kilometers an hour at the bottom. 124 and a bit. 124.7. Good speed. Hey, yeah, Ludus looks happy with that.
Pretty good. Coming off a 20th and 19th place in the first 2 events in Innsbruck. Martin, that was a good drive down the track.
Yep.
I mean, she was clean. Both exits of 9. Here's 9. No trepidation there. Little tap. Doesn't try to overcorrect. She's got a little bit of a skid going. And the exit of 13, 14. Does she tap here before the takeout? No, Martin.
Yeah.
Boy, A+ driving there.
Yeah,
I was
nice
impressed.
clean
That's
run
impressive.
from Wai Ming
Yeah.
Ming. All right, well, we'll see where that ends her up in a few sleds time, because now we get into our top sliders. 31st World Cup start for Christine de Bruyn. 3rd in the World Championships here 2 years ago. 16th last year. 2 third-place finishes so far this season. And she's had a silver medal on this track as well in World Cup racing.
De Bruyn started her bobsled career when she was 22. She's got a bachelor's of recreation at the University of Alberta in track and field, and somebody suggested her to come try bobsled. She did well as a brakeman, and next thing you know, she's in the front seat of a bobsled, and then a few years later, she marries a bobsledder. So, I mean, her life has been engulfed with bobsledding for the last decade.
Can't imagine what their kids will do. Best speed into the Kreisel for Christine de Bruyn, and she and Kristen Buchnowski, her brake woman, bronze medal, silver medal rather, in the last World Cup race here. What she got at speed at the bottom.
Yeah, you would expect her to
high
be
125
4/10 ahead.
Yeah, that's a nice looking run.
Yeah, she's 3rd in World Cup points with bronze medals in the first 2 events, Martin. And you would expect her to be 3/4 ahead of the Chinese athlete at the bottom, Wai, and Makarova, and of course Font. I hope Fontaine is okay. I would not imagine her to go in the 2nd run.
No,
she won't go because she won't make the cut.
Well, that's a very valid point.
Look at the excitement there. Ladies, you got one more trip.
They're having fun.
Good starters, both these athletes. They always have decent starts. You know, it's not easy jumping in this little bathtub. And watch the different techniques for the driver. She's got both hands on the push bar. Looks like her right foot's stuck, Martin.
Yeah, it was standing on the little tiny little seat back.
Christine, her brakeman's got the perfect technique.
Yeah. All right, next up, Switzerland's Melanie Hassler. 10th World Cup race for her, 19th for brakewoman Nadia Pasternak. Melanie raced here in Europa Cup and 2 World Championships. Nadia, a long run down this start, 5:72, quickest getaway so far.
6th and 7th so far in the season. 8th in the World Championships last year. Martin, she's been coming on, just tapped before the Omega curve. She taps there hard. She is really going to be scrambling to get any kind of good time here at the bottom for those 2 mistakes.
So easy to give away speed early on this track and so hard to find it further down. Clean exit here, good line down into 11 and 12.
Perfect there. Ooh, watch out.
Is she going to catch the Chinese sled?
13.
Whoa,
big skid, watch out here at 15. Big steer there. This is not a good run. No. Melanie Hassler, 6/10 off the pace. Martin, she hasn't been 6/10 behind Christina de Bruyn in any heat this year or last. That is a rough ride for this young Swiss pilot. Wow, Martin, it was a highlight reel of how not to do it, especially there.
And it was, yeah.
Oh, look at that energy going in the wrong direction. Whoa.
Almost every one of the snags on this track tripped her up. Oh, and again, runners off the ice. This is not a light piece of kit at speed.
No.
Aye. Yeah.
Move on. I just hope she makes the cut.
That's it. Well, she will do. It's a 3rd at the moment, ahead of Makarova and Fontenev. 5 sleds down, and 16 still to go as we get to Kim Kalicki of Germany. 2 silver medals in Innsbruck, and Kristen Strack on the back of the sled in her 24th World Cup start. 12th race in World Cup for Kalicki, double World Championship silver medalist on this track.
Had some challenges yesterday in the Monobob. Look at that, she's already in first. Look at that. Didn't have the best start.
Started a
legally.
Couple of hundreds, yeah. Good run out of four, but hits the wall going into 5.
Germans got so much talent in their camp. The second the World Championship.
Not looking like a German driver on this track. And look at all the taps. Oh, and yo!
Real high there. Real high there.
Nearly backs it into 13.
400s to 400s. She's really going to hold on, baby.
Run. Yeah, just.
500.
But that's a really unconvincing run from the woman who was a silver medalist in the last 2 World Championship races here. Silver last year with Ann Kristen, who's on the back. Silver the year before with Kira Lipperheider, who was her brake woman last weekend in Innsbruck. I'm not sure that's a medal-winning run.
Well, it's a mistake there, Martin. That mistake up top is.
Yeah, she had a little slap on the wall coming out of 3. That leaves you wrong in 4. And this was, ooh.
Yeah, this was a lot of the curve. Took a lot of curve there.
That backs her into 13, which sends her wrong into 14. As all the drivers will tell you, none of these corners happen in isolation. So, Kim Kilicki's down and done. 38th World Cup start for Kati Beil of Austria. Last year's World Cup champion. She raced here in Junior Worlds, in Europa Cup, and 2 World Cup starts here as well. She was 9th back in 2019, 9th and 7th in the World Championships since then.
Gives up time at the start, Martin, but, you know, she's had some decent results on this track.
Ooh. That's clean into Omega.
Very clean there.
That's clean
one of the better exits we've seen so far, but she's so far back because of the start deficiency. 7th in the World Championships last year. Look at these lines. Look how quiet the steering is here. Only the 6th best speed, though. Maybe too much steering, Martin. Maybe too much control.
Maybe. Half a second back. This is going to put her behind Wai Mingming of China. The gap is growing. Saw her walking down the track this morning with Coach Wolfgang Stamford. One final look at the track. There is Wolfie. 6th place, 7/10 back, though. No,
Martin, Martin, Kim Kilicki last year beat Catherine Beil by 25/100ths of a second. In this first heat today, she's beat her by 72/100ths.
Yeah.
Not the very good start to the season for this young Austrian either.
No.
She's the World Cup champion from last season, Martin.
Yeah. And sometimes you're trying things with equipment, and sometimes it works. Sometimes it's a bit of a draw. You know, you're not really sure what you get out of it. Whatever they've done today, she had control on the sled, but she didn't have any speed.
Too much control.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe so.
She doesn't know. Look.
No. Well, what about Kaylee Humphries? Double world champion here. And just to remind you that the World Championships were held here 2 years ago, were due to be in Lake Placid in 21 because of COVID travel restrictions were not, so we came back here. Kaylee also competed in the 2008 World Championships here, where she finished 5th as a parade woman. Keisha Love behind her, 2nd World Cup start for the 24-year-old. She was with Alana Myers-Taylor last week. Yeah.
Great
start. 574.
Keisha Love, UNLV track and field sprinter. They liked her. She got some great starts with Alana last week.
Yep.
Haley had the 10th best finish time in the 2nd race in Innsbruck last week. That was probably the worst we've seen in the modern Kaylee Humphries era, which is a decade.
Yeah.
And then she came out and rebounded yesterday with a victory in the women's monobob. And these are lines that are pretty straight.
She's had 5 women's bobsleigh wins on this track, including the last 2 in World Championships.
Wow. Martin, is there a better driver? Wow, she's right down the middle of the track.
Well, again, you know, she told us yesterday after the Monobob race, she loves this track. This is absolutely one of her favourite places on the planet. So many drivers dread coming here. She just loves it because she loves that challenge. And that was a great top draw effort from Kaylee Humphries. And, you know, again, like Francesco Frugic, kind of, so-so, because there are always mistakes here. No matter how fast you've gone, there's always mistakes.
Martin, it'd be tough to say she made any mistakes.
Well, I bet she'd tell you about them.
How's this line?
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
I mean...
there you go. She's saying, oh, I was a bit to the left going into 11.
And this line.
Yeah.
This is a video game perfect ride.
Nice stuff. There's Keisha Love and Kaylee Humphries.
Okay.
All right, Lara Nolte next up. 14th World Cup start for this 23-year-old German. 10th World Cup start for Deborah Levy, her brakewoman. 6 wins, 3 silvers, 1 gold. Never off the podium here in 5 races, Lara Nolte.
Look at that start. Wow.
Yeah.
3rd in the women's monobob yesterday. 3rd in the World Championships last year. She won the test event over in China, in Beijing. And Martin, this, to me, looks like the dominant German athlete of this season.
Well, she's undefeated so far this year. As you say, won in Beijing, won both races in Innsbruck. Top speed here. Great exit.
She's killing it. 5th best speed. She's going to come back a little bit. Ooh, real high there. Mistake here could hurt her.
Oh! Yeah, that could be very tight to the line.
She's going to be single digits leader. Single digit.
How close? 200.
Well, she beat Kaylee convincingly at the start by 10/100.
Yep. But we saw the errors creeping in.
But she beat Kaylee by 1600ths at the start at last year's World Championships, and she finished 3rd. This is a pretty good team right here.
Yes, it sure is. Little tag here. Just sends her, nudges her into 4 on the wrong side.
Yeah, this is the mistake where she had 20-something hundreds. Look at the airborne runner.
Yeah. Oh, look at her really trying to haul it off 14. Yeah.
That was quite a rock.
Yeah. And still a big hit. All right. It does take it all. It's got high demands. This track is high maintenance. Next up, Nadezhda Sergeva, the 10th of our 21 sleds today. 40th World Cup start for her, plus 4 more as a brakewoman. Elena Mamedova had her first ever World Cup here. And that was 15 starts ago. 13th, 9th, 8th and 7th in her last 4 World Cup starts here, Nadezhda.
Decent yesterday in the monobob event. Good drives down the track. She finished 5th. Gives up some time at the start, the 6th best start. So now she needs perfect on the exit. Not. She tapped a little bit. 3/10 back.
6th in the Worlds here 2 years ago. Last year, disastrous 13th finish in the World Championships. 7th best speed, that's not great.
Oh, a lot of that curve. A lot of the big skid into 13. This isn't very good either. Big, hard steer in 15. Not a good run. She'll be very, well, we say not a good run. 6th. She beat 4 of the sleds. That's about what she does, Martin, but that was pretty sloppy.
Yeah. That was error-strewn as well, wasn't it? That was a bit like Christine de Bruyn's run.
She's not
Lots
happy.
of mistakes in it. No.
Look at her body language. she's a veteran. She knows when she didn't perform at the level she expected. This little skid here.
Yeah.
What are you thinking when you're skidding to that curve like that? Then the result of that mistake is this down here. Then she taps and goes into 15. If they show, look how hard. Watch the back end of the sled. When you see the back end of the sled come around a curve like that, that is lots of friction. And friction is loss of time.
Sled just thrown sideways in there into 15. So 10 sleds down, and our leader is Laura Nolte by 200s from Kaylee Humphries. 10 down, 11 to go here in Altenberg, race 3 of the BMW IBSF Women's Bobsleigh World Cup. Silver medalist in yesterday's Monobob race, Cynthia Appia, with Dawn Richardson-Wilson behind her. 5th World Cup start for this former brakewoman.
Yeah, she just continues to impress. What she did yesterday, she almost got a gold, she got silver. She was extremely excited, and she should be. Boom, big mistake there, Martin. Brakeman's a rugby player, 100-meter sprinter. And Cynthia from Toronto.
Yep.
No one has climbed up the ladder quicker in women's bobsleigh, mono and two-person than this athlete right here. Her coming out party was last year.
Yeah, started driving 3 years ago in the 18-19 season. This is her first World Cup race here. All her previous starts in World Cup have been in Innsbruck.
12th and 8th in the 2 events in Innsbruck, 10th here, Martin. That's about the norm.
Yeah.
She doesn't have the same opportunity in this event because she has the 3rd best start here, 10 hundredths off in the monobob. She's like 10 hundredths ahead of everybody but Alana Myers.
Yeah.
And 2 different disciplines. You know, going from the monobob, which is hard to control, to the 2-person sled overnight, no training in between. You know, they're two different machines, Martin. You know, we say the 2-man's a sports car, the 4-man's sport utility. What's the monobob? A monobob is what is that? A snowmobile compared to these things?
Yeah.
How do we compare those two?
A unicycle. I mean, I don't know.
We haven't figured that out yet ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, really tough. And first time here, you only get 6 training runs, and the women have tended to split them 3 and 3, monobob to 2-seater. Alana Myers-Taylor, 5th in the worlds last year after crashing in the first heat. 83rd World Cup start for her as a driver. 18 wins, 18 silvers, and 12 bronze medals.
67. Ooh. Sylvia Hoffman, the next Olympic hopeful. They found her in that contest they did around the U.S. She's proved dividends for the U.S. team. Lana's got a love-hate relationship with this track, Martin.
Yeah, she does.
1500s back already. It shouldn't have been with that start.
Bronze medalist in the last World Cup race here in 2019 with Lake Quaz. She was a winner here with Sherelle Garrett in the 14-15 season.
3/10 back. Good line there.
Top 5.
Hanging in there for top 5, maybe.
Yeah. Behind Christine de Bruyne of Canada. And actually, Christine, although it's a pretty wild ride, it did turn out to be a fast wild ride.
Back. Yeah, so she's really separated by 2,400. Surprised she got beat by 300th at the start. I think Nolte and Levy have established themselves as the best starters in the field, and that's not what the rest of the field wants to hear.
No. It's like giving Francesco Frugic the... Oh, hang on a minute. He does have the best starts.
And Nolte didn't come out here with the best starts in the past, but she won that test over in China with the 1st and 2nd best start. And good lines here in the bottom part of the track. Lost a lot of time up top quickly.
Yeah. Well, next up is our Olympic champion from 2018, Mariama Yamanka, 4th and 6th in the World Championships 2 years ago and last year. This is her 4th World Cup race here. She won her last outing with Annika Dratsek behind her. This is Kira Lippaheider, 8th World Cup for her. She did race 1 in Innsbruck with Mariama, raced in race 2 with Lara Nolte.
Well, Mariama didn't do very good yesterday in the women's Monobob event, and that is strange because she's familiar with this track, Martin, and it's even more strange with the fact that she won the women's Monobob event over there on the Chinese, the Yanking track that we're going to be using for the Olympics. So, pretty inconsistent season so far for the Olympic champion.
Mistakes into the Kreisel, only the 6th best speed. Right now, she's hanging around with Alana Myers-Taylor and Wai Mingming of China, and she's way offline.
It's going to cost her here big time. Martin, she's just not the same. 4th in both runs in Innsbruck, both races in Innsbruck. Today, she's 10th. Yesterday was very perplexing in the Monobob. Let's see what she looks like, her body language when she gets out of the sled, because she is not doing it. I mean,
2 tenths behind Nadezhda Sergeva, and I thought that was a rough ride down.
Martin, she was 2nd in the women's bob 2-person event, also in Yangqing, and she won the Monobob event. Here she's, I want to say, less than average. Look at these lines. These are dangerous. Look how high she gets. No other sleds are going to be up there. And if they are, you have a chance to roll in the next curve. Look how much airborne she got.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and again, hauls it off there. And look at the speed differential. All those mistakes, just wiping the speed off the sled.
Look at the back end of the sled there.
Well, she's not driving there. There, the back end of the sled is driving itself. Yeah, she was the winner here in 18-19 ahead of Christine de Bruyn and Alana Myers-Taylor. Of course, that was the year where Kaylee wasn't competing, and that's why Kaylee didn't win this race. Next up, Melissa Lotholz of Canada, with Sarah Villani behind her. 6th World Cup race for her. First time racing here as a driver. 2 wins and a bronze medal on this track with Kaylee Humphries as a brakewoman.
Had a little issue yesterday with the women's Monobob. It was like 7th, crashed, 2nd run out of 9.
Yeah.
So last time down she crashed. What kind of cobweb she has. And where she crashed is right here at the exit of this curve, and that wasn't
all right. A bit of a flop, but it's looking like a top 10 run. Well, right now, you've got to say she's looking like a better driver than Mariama Yamanka. 8th best speed, better exit of 12 into 13.
There. Yeah, she made the mistake. Textbook, but she was better at 15 than Mariama Yamanka.
Where's she going to be? 8th, 9th? 9th place, 10th place, ahead of Yamanka by 100th. All right, she's got 2 golds on this track. Yamanka's only got 1, but Melissa earned hers as a brakewoman.
Yeah.
And now she's ahead of her as a driver.
Yeah, Melissa's, she's still in the learning curve.
Very much. Yeah, Mariama, 47th World Cup. This is Melissa's 6th. Mariama's done 4 World Cups here. Melissa, this is her first ever.
Well, watch this. High, not as high as Jamaica, but still watch the back end of the sled, airborne. That causes her to get in there late. When you get in there late, you have to steer off. And when you steer off, boom. This is what happens in the graveyard of time on this track.
Yeah.
Then she did pretty good at 15. Jamaica had to really Robin Hood steer it off there. She took her medicine and moved on.
Yeah.
Something broke.
Seat broke.
Stress.
Hey, you're ahead of the Olympic champion. You'll have worse days.
But the
had a worse day yesterday. Next up, Lubov Chernik, 21st World Cup start for her. The 10th World Cup start for her brakewoman, Yulia Egashenko.
Well, start. This is the only driver in the field, Martin, that I know started it in skeleton.
That explains why she came in with a feel for the ice on her World Cup debut in Sigulda, the first race we did there back in 2018. She finished in 4th place, not too far away from the medals, and that remains still her World Cup best outing.
Yeah, great lines. You just, you know, when you need the great lines when you have the 12th best start. These are really good lines compared to the last 2 sleds coming down that were both sideways there.
Yeah.
And this is a pedestrian time, that's all.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes...
Not great speed.
Martin, sometimes the smoothest rides are the slowest. Sometimes the fastest rides are the loosest. And especially on this track, that's quite a debate. Most important thing you want to do on this track, get to the bottom on 4 runners.
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, how do you rate this? The only person been that good is Kelly Humphreys or Laura Nolte. That's, can't be any better. Saw the runner steer there off the exit of 13 and didn't cut much ice down here. Nice helmet.
Didn't have great speed, so maybe they just set it up a little bit for more control. Laura Nolte leads from Kaylee Humphreys and Kim Kilicki. Christine de Bruin in the hunt for the medals. 15 sleds down. We get to our final half dozen with Ying Qing of China. Came to the World Championships here 2 years ago, not last year. The World Champs in 2020 was actually her 3rd. She was in the 2017 Worlds in Koenigsegg and the 2019 Worlds in Whistler as well.
Start. Not a very good starter, Martin, but a very good driver, 13th and 16th in the 2 events. She's doing everything right here, you know. She's like her teammate. They can drive right down the middle of the track. 11th yesterday in the Monobob.
Disappointing that the Chinese couldn't travel to Europe last year. The season before, she had 2 8th place finishes in World Cup races, so she was really coming on strong.
Yeah, look at these lines.
Yeah.
These are great lines, Martin. Her Albatross is going to be the start.
7th place at the bottom of the 14th best start. That's
Pierre Luder's
good.
actually smiled there. Of course, even with the match,
happens. We've seen it.
His eyes sort of like lit up a little bit. He liked that, as he should.
We've seen that.
Pierre's
hey, listen, you get Pierre talking about the old days, that's when the big smiles come.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
Look at the exit. Little tap there. Little skid.
Well, room to improve.
Watch the brakeman here. We see her head pop up. Oh, her head pops up there like she thinks she's finished.
Just lost count.
No,
yeah.
5. Boy, the guys in the TV truck don't miss anything, Martin. They find it all.
Yeah.
You better not make a mistake. They will seek it out.
That's why I'm worried about the booth cam. So, 17th of our starters, Andrea Greco and Katarina Vick. Didn't complete the World Championships 2 years ago, finished 8th on this track in the Worlds last year. This is her first World Cup start here as a brake woman, as a driver rather.
Martin, pretty good yesterday in the Monobob, 7th.
Yes, she was, yeah.
You know, she's been putting her time in, you know, not getting great results, 17th and 14th in Innsbruck in this event.
Yeah, a little bit disappointing this season. I kind of thought that she'd have more.
Agree.
But let's see where she gets to today.
Yeah, she's not getting the starts we thought she'd get, Martin.
Yeah.
But I don't know if this is the same brakeman as she had at the World Championship.
Yeah, Katarina's been with her for a couple of seasons. 9th best speed. And a good exit out of the Chrysler. Here we go. This is where you start to pick up a bit more velocity. And clean there as well.
Very clean
out of 14.
This is pretty good run.
Tips ahead. Yeah. doesn't have high speed. This is a bit like Lubov-Chernik. What's the speed at the bottom?
It's
pretty decent.
Good run.
Yeah,
All
8th
Diego.
place off the 12th best start.
Hanging in there, Martin. You know, I don't know if she'd give her Kim Kalicki's sled or Laura Nolte's sled, what she would do with it, but, you know, she's an established driver on the tour. First time we saw her 3 years ago drive. First time we saw her 5 years ago as a brakeman, brake woman. Speed.
Yep.
Look at the speed. Got great speed.
Yes, she does.
You know, but of course her start doesn't help.
And the key at the bottom was that clean exit out of 14. She went from 12th on the split times up to 8th in the final 3 corners.
And she got beat by 20 hundredths at the start. She got beat by 20 hundredths at the start, Mark.
Yeah. Well, next up, Misha McNeil of Great Britain. She got Montel Douglas on the back again. Monty did the first race in Innsbruck. Adele Nicol did the second. 48th World Cup start for Mish. Her last outing on this track in World Cup 2019. John, she was the leader after the first heat and then slipped to 4th place in the second.
21 hundredths back on the start, Martin. Now it's no mistakes allowed. Didn't see her yesterday in Monobob, Martin.
No, she was just focusing on the two-man, two-seater sled. Not feeling 100% this week health-wise. So let's not cloud the issue by dividing her loyalties.
Wonder if that means she's not going to continue on Monobob.
No. The intention is to continue just when she's feeling a little bit less under the weather. Only the 18th best speed off the 13th best start.
Yeah, she's had a rough start to the season here too, Martin.
Yeah.
Nice lines there, though. 16th and 20th in Innsbruck, and here 16th. Lee Johnson looks on to, okay, Misha, you need a better start. That's what he's telling her himself right there. Didn't we used to get Lee to do backflips here? Was it here? He used to do the
everywhere. Yeah. He'd do the backflip off the wall.
He was a little lighter then.
I did talk to him about teaching his athletes to do that. And said, no, that was my thing, which is fair enough, you know. Fair enough.
Pretty good lines. Little tap out of 9. You know, Misha's, you know, I would say she's going to make the cut.
Yeah.
But that's not what you want to, that's not her goal coming out of her today, making the cut. Her goal was for sure top 10.
Yeah, well, she's ahead of Lubov-Chernik and Martina Fontenev. And we have 3 sleds to go. 3rd World Cup start for Australia's Ashley Werner with Kira Rodingas behind her. 3rd World Cup race for her as well. Her only race on this track, Ashley, was in Monobob yesterday. So she's had 6 training runs, split between the 2 sleds, and 1 race yesterday. That's your lot.
Well, she had quite a ride down the track yesterday in Monobob, Mark.
Yeah. Let's see if she gets cleanly out of 9 in the 2-seater sled. She'll be definitely focusing on that. Looking good so far. Late flop, but not too bad.
Well, let's see if she gets out of here clean.
Well, this will be a nice little warm-up race. Ooh, backs it into 13.
Watch out here.
And into 15, 16. Get her down and across the line in a 58.07. Hey, don't shake your head, Pete. She's made it into the race. That's not Heath Spence. She's made it into the race. She's ahead of Martina Fontenev. So she will get a 2nd run. And John, as we documented yesterday, she's off to Lake Placid after this. It's a triple race weekend in North America's Cup next week, with 3 monobob and 3 two-seater races. So she's going to get lots of ice time at the Adirondack Sliding Center.
Martin, I'll be able to do commentary next week from Winterberg and walk out to the bobsled run in Lake Placid and watch some North America's Cup.
That's not really factoring in much of the way of sleep, though, John.
Well, don't even bring that up.
It's going to make Sunday a tough... You're going to have to work the schedule really well. So there you go. Ashley Werner and Kira Rodingas are down. 50th World Cup start as a driver for Anne van Nieuwenhuis of Belgium. Sarah Ertz behind her, 30 seconds for the brakewoman. It's her 6th World Cup here as a driver, one of the most experienced on this track. 2017, she was 4th place, her equal best World Cup result. Let's see if she's got another good couple of runs in her today.
Oh, well, Spanky had a pretty good result yesterday with the Italian men driving it.
Yeah,
you know, one of the horses she has in her corral.
Yeah, Spanky is definitely on the transfer list, though. She said this sled, Ruby, this is the one. She's not going to be driving Spanky again. So
well, there's another sled called Maximilian, too.
Yeah, they had a few. They had Olaf as well.
Ooh, watch out here. Well, she's hanging in there.
17th, 18th, 17th ahead of Lubov Chernik. So a 57.97. There's Coach Tom Delahunty.
She'll make the cut.
Yeah. 4th place here in 2017. Christina Hengster and Sanna Decker of Austria were the bronze medalists, and they were 1800ths ahead of Anne and Sarah Ertz. Too many errors creeping in. Just
Belgian
furious
bullets.
with herself there.
What a story that was when they first came out in 2008.
Yeah.
And, whoa. Yeah, that mistake, it's not the only one's done that today. I would say 9-10 sleds made that mistake up there in the exit of Omega. Here.
Furious with herself. This is one of the real opportunities for Anne to shine. Well, next up, 2 former drivers, Giada Andreuti and Tania Vicenzino, both raced here as drivers in the 2020 Worlds, both crashed out. And this season, Tania is on the back of the sled. They've accumulated or pooled their resources to make the best Italian team they can. 8th World Cup start for Giada Andreuti, the driver. And this is her 2nd time on the track, her first runs yesterday in a race since crashing out of the Worlds.
Monobob, she had a bad first run yesterday too, but she came out for the 2nd run.
Little sideways into the Kreisel and gets herself back on track. Well, she'll be in the race. This is just going to be a day to get down and get it done.
Well, she's
59.01, yeah. And Martina Fontenev doesn't make the cut, but I wouldn't be sending her anyway, to be honest.
Yeah, just hope she's okay.
Yeah.
Her and Tanya Morel, hope their health as well. But at least we're seeing Italians driving a red sled, Martin. That was like tough yesterday, watching Italians drive a Belgian white sled. And they did well with it. So,
yep.
But the red Ferrari colored sled is the norm for the Italians. And I've been seeing that red sleds from way back in the Eugenio Monti days.
Well, Rosso Corsa is the traditional Italian motor racing colour. That's why it was adopted by Enzo Ferrari and Alfa Romeo and all the others. So our 21 sleds are down at the top of the pile. It's unsurprising, perhaps, to find a German driver, and it is Lara Nolte, the woman who remains undefeated so far this season. But this is a close one. She has the lead, but only by 0.02 of a second. It is by no means guaranteed that she will be on top of the pile. It's by no means guaranteed that she'll finish on the podium. This is very definitely going to be a tough second heat for all of our lead competitors and for everybody else. 1600s cover the top four. That's where the medals will come from. Alana Myers-Taylor in 5th, ahead of 2 Chinese sleds, 6th and 7th. Wai Mingming and Ying Qing, great runs from them in the first heat. Behind them, Andrea Greco, Nadezhda Sergeva, Melanie Hassler, probably feeling a little less rotten about her run now. She's 10th, ahead of Makarova, Lotholtz, Yamanka, the Olympic champion, Katy Bile, the World Cup champion, down in 14th place. There were some very disappointed faces, not the least of which Anne van Nieuwenhuis in 17th. And Martina Fontenev, the first sled out, crashed and will not take part in the second heat. So we will go 20 down to 1 in the deciding run. Sleds will be ready to go at 11 local, 10 GMT. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is 0500 Eastern. Join John Morgan, me, Martin Haven, and the IBSF TV crew for all the action. We'll see you then.
Viesturs wieder